On your journey of evolution, it's natural to outgrow containers, to outgrow spaces. And just like as a child, your feet outgrow shoes, you feel the rubbing, the hot spots, the friction, the pain, the discomfort, the irritation of shoes that no longer fit you. Shoes that are not wrong, but simply too small for you because you've grown. And just like the shoes that you've outgrown, you'll see that there's different spaces or containers or forms that you have outgrown. These could be different things: relationships, communities, any form of space or environment or container that you feel those symptoms, like you're rubbing, might feel like you're butting heads with someone. There's a lot of friction, a lot of heat, a lot of irritation. Something feels tight, feels restrictive, doesn't allow you to open up. This longing for more space, more freedom, more expression often comes at the time where we're realizing that we need to let go of perhaps the environment or the space or the container or the form of that container that we have outgrown. It's not that anything is wrong. It's actually just a natural process. Just like I said, just like my child's feet are growing and I can see the wear and tear on their shoes. I can hear their complaints of their feet being uncomfortable. You can see the sores, the blisters on their feet when they've truly pushed the limit of that size of shoe. Well, it's time to get a new shoe. It's time to find a new container. A new form enters the new shoes. But we also have to let go of the old shoes. And like that, you see that we feel that rub. We feel those hot spots. We feel the blisters. We feel the friction. Metaphorically speaking, in our relationships, in our community, in our job, in our roles, you feel that. And they're all symptoms, signs, I should say, of your growth. But what challenge you're presented with is letting go of the old. Because it's not the same as shoes. When my kids' feet are outgrowing their shoes, I can simply buy them a new pair of shoes. And the new pair comes, and then we release the old. Your growth is a little different. The new container is unclear. The new space, the new environment, the new relationship, the new form is not visible yet. You have to experience this void, this in between, the unknown. The unknown where you trust the process of your own growth and evolution, where you release that container before the new container reveals itself. And the process is really about trust. Trust in yourself, or you can call it trust in God or trust in life, whatever it be. But this trust is necessary. This process of surrendering to the process is required. Wanting to hold on, wanting to control, wanting to know, The next thing prevents you from entering that new space, experiencing the new container, experiencing the new level of your growth. So just like one's feet outgrow their shoes, you too are outgrowing some of the forms of your relationship. It might not be the relationship entirely that needs to be released, but perhaps a new version of that relationship, a new form of that relationship, a refinement of that relationship. Could be not quite literally a new space, but a different form of that space, a different container, something that reflects your growth. But like I said, the challenge that you're presented with is trusting the process, is releasing the old. Because it's ultimately when you release the old that you open up, or you create that space, or like quite literally, you are that space in which the new form arises from, in which the new form reveals itself to you, as you. So, to give you some practical examples, what can this look like? It can look like outgrowing certain friends. So, releasing those friends. It could look like just simply not engaging with them, not spending so much time with them. Perhaps the friendship changes from, like I said, the form of the friendship. It might not be cutting those friends entirely from your life, but it could be the form of those friendships, those relationships. Instead of the relationship being perhaps always hanging out with your buddies that are drinking and doing drugs, perhaps that form of friendship you've outgrown, and you hang out with these friends on different terms because you've outgrown, you've matured. Your own growth now doesn't represent, is not manifested as that type of activity. So it might feel like you've outgrown that activity and you can no longer connect with them on that level. You've outgrown them, not in some superior way, not that you're cutting them out of your life, in a way that there's some haste to it. It's just simply you've outgrown that. It's a natural process. So it might look like you not hanging out with them daily. And maybe just from time to time, you hang out with them in a different way. Not around the beer and the drugs or the alcohol and whatever it is that you used to do with them. Could look like your job, your workspace, your environment. The job feels too tight, too restrictive. You now feel this rise of creativity in yourself. This creative expression wants to be free. It wants more freedom. Your job feels too limiting. So perhaps it's a new position in your current career or your workplace, or perhaps it's releasing that role. Give me a second, I gotta jump this. It's releasing that role entirely, quitting your job. And I know that can be scary. Been there, done that many times, where you're releasing that old version of yourself. That's really what your growth is all about. You've outgrown yourself, the previous version of yourself. And that's why that role no longer resonates with you. That position no longer resonates with you. But it requires trust. Trusting the process. It requires courage. Perhaps it's courage to ask for a different position, a different role, a new opportunity in your current workplace, your current company that you're working at, or perhaps it's the courage to quit your job, follow your heart. And now that you're feeling this rise of creative energy, to allow it to take a different form, allow it to express itself, which will reveal itself as an entirely new container. Perhaps the old container was a comfortable 9-to-5 job. Clock in, clock out, and it's got that what seems like stable income. And quitting the job looks like letting go of that stability, where you find that trust not in your job, your career, your paycheck, but you find it within yourself. The trust in yourself opens up this new space. Perhaps it's entrepreneurship. And then you see that from that place of self-trust, you're creating something entirely new. A new container, a new form of expression, starting your own business, whatever that looks like. So that's another example. Now I can go on and on, these different examples, from ultimately letting go of a relationship and perhaps being single when you let go of your girlfriend, your boyfriend. I can speak to that. Letting go of your job, quitting your job, releasing clients. Perhaps you're in a business and you've outgrown the old version of yourself. So everything in your business has to change. Literally, your community, your clients, your offer, the way you do business, what your business is all about, what you're sharing, all that changes because you've changed. See, when you change, everything changes. So what does that look like? What could it look like? Could look like creating a new offer that you're more passionate about, you're more inspired, more authentic. It represents the authentic you, it represents your growth. Perhaps that offer is bigger, which requires you to outgrow that what feels limiting, that which is no longer sustainable for the, let's call it, the bigger version of you. The bigger version of you requires you to charge more, bigger price, bigger offer, because you've outgrown the low offer. You've outgrown those patterns of overworking, undercharging. So you raise your price. You raise your price not out of greed, but out of clarity. That price represents your own transformation. You now value yourself. You honor yourself. You love yourself. You've outgrown those patterns of overcompensation. You've outgrown those patterns of fear of being too much. The fear of how you will be perceived if you really charge your worth. So that price changes everything. The current clients will most likely not join your offer at that price. That offer will seem too much for your current clients because those current clients really represent that smaller version of yourself. When you change, then you're inviting those clients to actually grow with you. But here's the catch. Not all those clients are going to grow with you. All you can do is grow, and your own growth, your own embodiment becomes the invitation for others. Not everyone is going to walk with you on this journey. So they will decline that offer. Perhaps someone will level up with you, but it's not guaranteed. And that's the scary part, because what does that look like? Well, the fear of losing your clients. If I really increase the price, if I really change my offer, one, the offer is going to be something possibly entirely different. Maybe it's a refined version of your current offer. Are people gonna like this? Are they gonna want that? People resist change. Maybe they're gonna resist this new offer. If I have a new offer, that means I'm not offering what I used to. Maybe that is going to stir the pot, ruffle some feathers, harm some feelings. Whatever it be, people may not like that. And that's okay, because that's no longer you. And you're not here to try and fit in. You're not here to try and make others comfortable. You see, your own growth will actually make other people uncomfortable. When you change your price, that will make other people uncomfortable because they see that growth, and that discomfort that they feel is actually the resistance to their own growth. That price is not a price about greed. That price actually becomes a transmission in and of itself. It invites someone through paying that price. That price becomes a doorway. It becomes the path of their own growth, because when they invest in themselves at that new price, they're quite literally joining you on that journey of growth. In that sense, they're walking with you. But like I said, you can't count on it. It's not guaranteed. You don't know who is going to actually walk with you in your journey of growth. And to be honest with you, as I always am, it's going to be very few, if any. It's going to be very few that are going to level up with you, especially when you start making changes, growth so fast. It's a lot like my kids who are very young. They outgrow shoes before the actual tread is worn through, meaning it's their growth that's actually making me buy new shoes. It's not them actually wearing out the shoe, but it's because their foot is growing at such a fast rate. Like this, you'll find that you'll have to create different iterations of your business quickly, where it might look like you're changing very quickly. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, it's constantly evolving like this. And you're making quick changes, not because you're confused, but because you're actually growing so quickly. And you'll see that at that rate of growth, very few are likely to walk with you. So that new offering, the new price, the new community, well, it starts revealing itself. Like I said, that rub, that friction, those hot spots, that discomfort, it starts manifesting in real ways. The friction that you have with clients, the rub, the irritation, these are all symptoms that are really signs of your growth. And these signs, when you read them clearly, they always point to more and more alignment. And as you align more and more with your authentic self, your offering, your business becomes more refined. And that refinement becomes reflected back to you. But like I said, that refinement that is reflected back to you only happens after that period of the void. It's that void, the space, where it's not quite the old and it's not quite the new, but that space in between where it looks like nothing's really happening is really where everything is happening. And that's that part of the process where your growth is taking shape and form, but there's a little bit of a delay. It seems like that. It's only a delay in how it becomes manifested, how it's reflected back to you. It's not instantaneous, as many people think or claim it's going to be instantaneous. And if it was instantaneous, then that would provide some sort of guarantee. But it's what people fear. They fear the void. That space where, okay, if I lose, if I let go, I should say, my job, well, I want the guarantee that there's the new job already there. Because I'll leave this rock if I can see the next rock right there. The only thing is I can't see that next rock. You can't see that next step. It's that trust that as you step, that path appears. And it's only by walking that you make a path. So those who fear actually taking that step never truly walk the path. And that's where the fear really keeps one frozen. It feels like stagnation. It stunts one's growth. But the more times you walk through your fear, you see that you're actually walking the path of the heart. For the path of the heart is always unknown. You're literally walking through your fear by following your heart. It seems contradicting because you would think that the fear has nothing to do with the path of following your heart. But it literally is the pathway. By walking through your fears, you're actually walking the path of the unknown, the path of the heart. And like this is where the magic is. This is where the mystery is. This is where the wonder, the awe is. This is where you experience everything that I'm saying, not conceptually, but experientially. You've experienced that void so many times that you come to know that void as yourself. And when you know that void as yourself, you trust that process. You've experienced this process. You can see the patterns unfolding. And you get so familiar with that path that it's like you can feel the timing, that everything is just this divine timing. That, let's stick with that example, leaving your job. You quit your job, there's now the feeling of insecurity, the feeling of uncertainty, the feeling of not being safe. Oh my God, I only have whatever it is, 50 grand in the bank, 20 grand in the bank, 2 grand in the bank, whatever it is, and how am I gonna live off of this? And you see that it's like perfect timing. Right before you quite literally run out of your savings, your reserve, a new opportunity comes. Because you trusted that process. And it's in that space, that void, that in-between, that you were actually being transformed. That you were being prepared for the new container, the new job, the new environment, the new space. And you see that that new space, that new environment, that new container is really a reflection of the new you. That growth actually becomes solidified, manifested in form as your life, your outer reality. It mirrors that growth back to you. So whatever you want to think of it as, that you're stepping into a new space, a new container, or you're quite literally becoming that space or becoming that container. Or perhaps you're looking at it from the perspective that it's already done. It's already you, and you're simply revealing the true you. That's what happens. That container, that space, that environment, that life that you want to live is simply revealing itself as it's already you. And by trusting the process, trusting yourself, you see that through your own integration, your own embodiment, when you're forged in that void, when you are sitting in that space of in between the old and the new, that you are not just waiting for things to appear, but it's this process of growth. Much like you see in nature, or anything, for example, everything grows from within. It might not look like a baby is growing, but in a mother who's pregnant, that baby is growing. It might not look like the seed is growing, but something's happening inside. There's a pressure. There's something that cracks, and then something ultimately emerges from it. Like that. It's like you can't see that growth. It's like it's hidden. It hasn't manifested yet. But there's something in you that you can sense, you can feel. And the more you trust that process, you see that actually it's all just this divine timing that is just waiting to reveal itself at the right time for you. And you'll see the more you become more open and receptive and start seeing with the inner vision, you can start recognizing this growth within yourself. And you start seeing these signs in your life that actually allow you to trust the process more, because they start actually mirroring that growth in sort of pieces or little ways, just like you start seeing a little sprout shooting off, or a little root growing, or a little bud emerging. It's like that it becomes confirmation of your growth. And like this, you start trusting the process even more. And you're not waiting for some end result, but you're actually truly enjoying your own growth. And this is where, like I say in a lot of these videos, you start experiencing the journey as the destination. You're no longer waiting to arrive. You're no longer trying to get somewhere. You're fully embracing the journey for what it is, the journey of life, and experiencing this journey of life as yourself. If this message resonates with you and you find yourself maybe at that threshold of wanting to let go because you feel that it hurts so much to let go, but you fear letting go, you're at that threshold where ultimately the pain of holding on has to exceed that fear of letting go, then you're right at that threshold and you're receiving this message at the right time. For it's not only an invitation, but it's this threshold. It's your initiation. And on that note, I invite you to this initiation. I'm here to guide you through this process, to take that step through that threshold and experience your growth on the other side. Join me on the journey of truth.